Hey friends, how's it going? Long time no see. So as you may know, if you've been following me on Instagram and TikTok, I am spending this semester in Prague. So that's where I am now. I'm in the Czech Republic. And I just wanted to make a video to do like a reading update, life update kind of thing. Just talk to you guys. Just want to introduce myself, talk about some of the books I've been reading and let you know what's been going on. And part of the reason, it is a really dumb reason, but part of the reason I haven't made many videos is because of the echo in here. You can probably hear it. It's so echoey. So I'm trying my best with my phone microphone just to cut down on some of that echo if I can. I apologize for the audio. So first of all, if you're new here, I'm Sam Cody. That's how it's pronounced. It's pronounced Cody. And I've been making videos here on YouTube for a while, since like high school, but sort of on and off. And I've most recently been doing a lot of book videos over on TikTok, especially, but also here on YouTube. I've started getting into that and I've just loved it. It's so much fun to talk about books on the internet. It just works for me. I don't know why. This year so far has been like so good for reading for me. I've been reading so much. I think I'm already like over halfway to my reading goal. My goal is 26 books this year. And I think I've read like 14 or 15 at this point, something like that. So I'm like pretty hyped about that. It's been a great reading year for me and we're just keeping on going. I'm hoping to do some more rereads this year. That's something that I'm really looking forward to, getting to know these books that I love so much a little bit better on a deeper level, just by going back and reading them again. So I've got a few of those lined up I'm very excited for. And I just finished my first nonfiction of the year as well, so we're going to talk about that too. Hello, Future Sam here. I was editing the video and it ended up being really boring to edit. I pretty much just listed all of the books that I read so far this year and talked a little bit about each of them, and it was, in my experience, videos that are boring to edit are almost always very, very boring to watch. So instead, here on the screen are all of the books that I've read so far this year. Pause the video now. And now on the screen are all my Storygraph stats in case you're interested in that. And I just wanted to talk about a few highlights so far instead of talking about each of the books individually. First thing I want to talk about is Mistborn. I've read the first two Mistborn books so far. I still have Hero of Ages to read, but I'm really excited to get to that because I've loved the first two. I think I really like the first one a lot. I think that many Brandon Sanderson fans would agree with that. It's a really good book. But Well of Ascension had some elements to it that I liked even better, which I was not expecting. I think second books in trilogies have a bad rep for kind of just dropping the ball, not being as exciting, or just being a setup for the third one. Like, they're usually seen as just like the awkward middle phase of the story. But I think in some regards, at least, I enjoyed it more than the first Mistborn, which, yeah, completely surprising to me, but that makes me even more excited for Hero of Ages. What else do I want to talk about? Oh, I read my first Ursula K. Le Guin book. I read The Left Hand of Darkness. It was a very, very interesting experience for me because I haven't read much sci-fi from that era other than like Dune. I'm not used to books where the concepts are centered, which is a lot of what old sci-fi is about. If you don't know about Left Hand of Darkness, it's pretty much about this emissary from this interplanetary league of governments, I guess, that is sent to this planet called Winter to sort of talk to the people that live on Winter and convince them to join this like interplanetary league. This emissary is named Genly I. He has pretty traditional views of things like gender and sexuality, especially at the time that Le Guin is writing this. He's, got that binary view of gender and sexuality, but the people on Winter have just a completely different experience of life and sexuality and reproduction and gender that he has to sort of like learn about and come to grips with as someone who's just never been exposed to that before. So it's really, really interesting as like thinking about how it would have been received at the time that it was written, and then thinking about how it's received now, and just looking at how those concepts are explored in sci-fi, and just like it was just like a show of what sci-fi can do when you really put deeper themes into it and really use it as a mode of introducing people to new ideas. What else have I enjoyed so far? Other honorable mentions so far this year. I read The Secret History, finally. I've seen it on the internet so much, especially being on Book Talk. It's, always, it's like ever present. And I figured, okay, I've got to read this at some point. I was able to get it on Libby, which, if you don't know, is like a free library app that you sign up with your library card. And you get to download, or you get to borrow ebooks from your library as if you're just checking it out. Which is awesome. So I got access to it for free and read that. It was, personally, I think it lives up to the hype. I don't know what I was expecting from it, but it definitely wasn't what it was. And what it was like, first of all, the prose was beautiful. I loved just the experience of reading page to page, how things are described, things like that. But then also seeing inside the characters' minds and seeing them just do tons of crazy stuff that like I would never consider partaking in, but just being able to see their rationale and see how they arrive at different conclusions about things in a way that's just so different from my own. I don't know. It reminded me of what I love about reading and being able to see different experiences like that I would never pursue for myself. Without getting into spoilers, there's some crazy stuff. I was talking in my creative writing class today. We're talking about, you may or may not be familiar with catharsis, which is the concept that when a cultivated audience receives a piece of media that has like really difficult themes and like terrible, unthinkable stuff in it, it allows that audience to release that tension within themselves about that thing. So like, if like you would never consider murder, let's hope. So as an unthinkable act, if you were to read that in a book or see a play about it, where you get to see a murder happen, you no longer have to wonder about it. You no longer have a confusion in your mind about what it would be like to undergo that. So you don't have to do that yourself to get what's going on. Like you can have a little bit of that experience just by seeing a piece of media about it. And then that tension is released. You don't feel the need to go do it yourself in order to experience that, is kind of what the argument with catharsis is. So maybe you agree with that, maybe you don't. Plato disagreed with it. Aristotle agreed with it. Plato thought that when you receive disturbing images in media, they stay with you, which definitely can be the case. Anyways, really whack book. I was left with a lot of mixed feelings, but I'm glad I read it. Definitely. I also listened to the audiobook of Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. My dad recommended this to me as just an audiobook. I asked on Twitter for recommendations for books that are best enjoyed as audiobooks, and that's the one that my dad gave me, and I listened to it. The performance is awesome. I love Andy Weir's writing style. He's got like, humor, but then also like a crap ton of science as well, which is just a really fun combination. If you've read The Martian, Mark Watney is pretty much that exact type of character, and so is the protagonist of Project Hail Mary, but they're very distinct characters from each other. Like, I don't know if they would get along as people, but it's just Andy Weir's writing style is able to capture that in two very different ways in the same way. I'm making no sense. I've also been reading a lot of Franz Kafka's work. I'm taking a class about his work. I've actually got one of the books right here, The Complete Stories. So we're just going through some of the short stories in here and reading those. The one that you're probably most familiar with is The Metamorphosis. A lot of people read it in school, where the guy wakes up as a bug, and kind of the process of his life unraveling from that point. So really good stuff. I'm glad that I'm getting to discuss it in an academic setting, being able to talk to other students and my professor about it and like talk through the meaning and whatnot, because his stories are just like so strange and also are told in a way that's so natural that they seem like they should be real. At least that's how they strike me. We also read The Trial by him, and that's also one where it's like on the surface you read it and like the things concretely make sense, but when you go back and think of it, it's like it's hard to know what actually happened. So if you ever hear something described as Kafkaesque, it's usually referring to some sort of reality bending or just like unclarity between what's real and what's not, what's literal and what's metaphorical. I'm sure there's more to it that I'm not getting, but yeah, studying Kafka has been really interesting. What else? I've read one nonfiction. I read, I listened to the audiobook of Humankind by Rucker Bregman. I like listening to nonfiction books because it feels more like a podcast. I feel like I'm not doing homework because, just listening to it is a little easier for me to get through. Otherwise, it takes me forever to read nonfiction. So listen to that one, and it's just such a hopeful book. It's Humankind with emphasis on the kind, and it's essentially an academic argument as to why humans are naturally good, why humans are innately good people. And he discusses the factors that make us do bad things, of course, but always comes back to the core idea that we are good, and here's why, here's evidence for that. And so it was a really hopeful outlook at humanity, and a look back at some historical events and why we can still find the good in people in those historical events that are such big tragedies. So if you're looking for something uplifting, that is just reassuring, feels like a warm blanket, except it's academic, definitely check out Humankind. And right now I'm reading Kings of the Wild. I have mixed feelings about it so far. I think I like the atmosphere of it. The writing style is fine. It definitely strikes me as D&D, which I've heard a lot of people say. It's got that tabletop RPG type aesthetic to it, which I've never read before, and I really like that. The motivation of the characters seems well-meaning but misinformed. If you've read it, you might know what I'm talking about. So we'll see where it goes. I'm still giving it a chance. If it goes more in the direction that I'm hoping it will, then I'll keep reading it. But if it starts going down the direction where I'm not so into this, probably gonna DNF it. So we'll see. I'll keep you posted. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope this was a little more engaging. If there were any in that list that you want to hear about that I didn't talk about, let me know. We can talk about it in the comments, or I might do some reviews on those books. We'll see. Thank you again for watching. If you're new here, I'm Sam Cody. I do book videos and sometimes some lifestyle type videos as well. So if you're into that, make sure you hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave a comment. Let me know how you're doing. I hope you're doing well. Hoping to get some more videos up. Stay tuned.